Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, 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 Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Hari Om to everybody. Yes. Any topic you would like to discuss? Hari Om Anand Ashram. Hari Om Anand Ashram. Hari Om. So please write down the number. This is not the number. Please write down another reception number. 220-3036. Anand Ashram. Yeah, you can.
Maharaj, I am Vishwanathan from Chennai.
Yes. Yeah.
See, actually, we are. I have come across some institutions saying that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and when we hear Ramayana, they say Rama is the supreme. Then we come across so many temples, Guruvayur, this, that, and all, Madurai, Meenakshi Amman. When we pray or when we may see such things, how we should take it? Can you kindly explain us? What should be the best way to go ahead? When we pray to various temples we go, and what should be our mentality in that kind of people are saying, Krishna, you have to pray. So what is this? I want to have some idea from you. I'm new to
Very,
this, so if it is something very primary question, kindly excuse me.
no, it's not primary question. It's a fundamental question. Thing is, since we have a name and form, we cannot straight away think about the nameless and formless. We do need, even Nama chanting is also a form. No? So that is why probably the elders, God prompted elders to bring out Itihasas and Puranas and bring out various Ishtadevatas. And an individual like you and me, he was asked to conceive this form, and God provided the material either in the form of a granite stone or marble or metals or wood to carve out this. And again, he also prompted somebody to have a life lived on austerity, nishta, and by his nishta, he superimposes the prana into the vigraha, prana pratishta, and then becomes not merely a stone, it becomes an ideal. And our Puranas and Itihasas give us ample opportunity for us to dwell on it. So the moment we place ourselves before Lord Rama's figure, or Lord Krishna's figure, or Lord Shiva's figure, there is something corresponding to that. So everything is valid. At the same time, we should know that the core of our being is nameless and formless. And since we have got a name and form, we are trying to understand it through a name and form. So the universal nature, which is nameless and formless, which appears to be in the form of in the form of idols, in the form of Ishtadevatas, they help us to go to the formless. This is what we understand through Papa's teachings. Nothing is invalid, no, everything is valid. There are many Bhaktotamas who have scaled the heights through their subservience or surrender to the form also. So now the question is, what is happening to me? I have to answer this question to me. Whether I can concentrate on the nameless formless or through a name and form. If the answer is that I should hold on to a name and form, do it with all sincerity, with all intensity. But at the same time, keep developing that he is the nameless and all-pervading, indwelling reality who is there in anybody or everybody who attaches importance to the form as well as the formless, so that we don't develop any contradiction or conflict against any name or any form of worship. Papa was talking about the impersonal aspect, no doubt, because then only it becomes universal. Suppose a particular form which we are uh, devoted to, that may not necessarily be the form of another person, but the another person also exists because of this principle called God. When we start thinking, we know that through this form, okay, through that form, okay. From a seed, when it sprouts, so many things come out of that seed. Nothing looks alike. There are tap roots, feeder roots, stem, branches, leaves, flowers, fruits. Everything has come from the tiny little seed. Everything looks not alike, but everything owes its origin to that base. So if we clearly understand, then we will know that whether he is in this form or that form, the tap root as well as the feeder root, it is the stem. If you are concentrating on the stem, You don't forget about the seed. When you are concentrating on the tap root or the feeder root, don't forget it has come from the seed. If you are concentrating on the leaves, always remember it has come from the seed, the flower, the fruit, everything. So if we try to go to that source, connect ourselves with it, all the manifested parts are all valid, but at the same time you know that it is the seed which is beyond all these various manifestations. So this gives us a clear-cut clarification about with name and with form. That is why in this Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram, Beloved Papa gave us the meaning that while Om stands for the Nirguna Nirakara aspect, that is the nameless, formless aspect, Sri stands for the with name, with form aspect. So the name and form is also equally valid. Because you and I are there, as sadhakas or bhaktas or anything. So we all exist because we have been blessed with this form. So through the form, we are trying to understand the formless. We all know that the power because of which now all of us are hearing, the power because of which we are seeing now, does it have a name and form? No. But we have a name and form through which all these perceptions takes place. So both are valid. We have to check up for ourselves which is okay for us. We have been told, in the initial stages, Papa was also devoted to the form of Lord Krishna. And Lord Krishna also gave the darshan in the same form. Then Papa prayed, I don't want this form because this will come and go. I want that which always stays with me. Please remember these words. This name and form comes and goes. But that which is always with me, I want that. And I want you to make me feel the Vishwarupa Darshan. I want to see you in everybody. So through that form, he was able to transcend and get the Vishwarupa Darshan. So each one of us, we cannot follow what somebody has done. So we will ask for ourselves whether we are comfortable with devotion to a particular form or to a formless. And based upon that, whatever prompting he gives, we carry on with our sadhana. So nothing is invalid, everything is valid. In spiritual life, what matters is how do I connect myself with this? I am not here to evaluate or judge or question what others do. I am here to progress. Progress means what? To become aware that he is with me and he has been with me. Kindly think about it. Everything is valid. We have to choose. And the biographies of Bhaktotamas are a perennial source of inspiration for us. When we go to any temple, we suddenly realize that form has been instrumental in inspiring many people through that nameless. The spiciness is a taste, but it expresses through chilies, Sweetness is the taste, but it expresses through the sugar cane. Outwardly, it may be different. Each one takes it. This is okay for me. This is not okay for me. Somebody is fond of spiciness. Somebody is fond of sweetness. Somebody is fond of something else, sourness. So it all depends on everything is his. So we have to choose for ourselves. So in Papa, that is why Puja Mataji, while giving emphasis for the Nirguna, Nirakara, Shashwata, Ananda Swarup of the Almighty, in our prayer, in our Arati prayers, you will find all these forms are also brought in. Achyutam Keshavam Ramanarayanam Krishna Damodaram Vasudevam Hai Sridharam Madhavam Gopika Vallabham Janaki Nayakam Ramachandram Bhaje. So everything is there. Is that clear?
Very much, Maharaj.
Yes.
You have
you have very clearly, very briefly, and very nicely you have explained me, and I take this as a valid thing, and it has satisfied me very lot, and now it will be useful for me throughout my life. Every word of yours meant it and very logical. Thank you so much, Maharaj. I am leaving today with your Ashirwad. I had the benefit of seeing you through this video. I am thankful to you
Come again.
for providing this opportunity.
Okay. Very.
Yes, you can talk.
சுவாமிஜி நமஸ்தே. என் பேரு சீதாராமன். நான் ஒரு 22 வருஷம் முன்னாடி இங்க ஒரு 4 மாசம் இருந்திருக்கேன் உங்க ஆசீர்வாதத்துல. 2002ல கண்ணம்மால இருந்தா அப்போ. அப்ப ரொம்ப டூங்கிற கண்டிஷன்ல இருந்தேன். நாம தான் உன்னை காப்பாற்ற முடியும், வேற பகவானால தான் காப்பாற்ற முடியும், வேற யாராலையும் முடியாது. அதனால நாமாலே இரு அப்படின்னு ஜி சொன்னேன். நாமாலே இருந்தேன், 4 மாசம் இருந்தேன். அப்புறமா இங்கிருந்து கொஞ்சம் நல்ல செல்ஃப் கான்ஃபிடன்ஸ் வந்துவிட்டு வேற இடத்துக்கு போனேன். இப்போ பெங்களூர்ல செட்டில்டா இருக்கேன். ஒரு 20 இயர்ஸ் ஆச்சு. சௌக்கியமா இருக்கு. ஆஃப்டர் 22 இயர்ஸ் இன்னைக்கு தான் எனக்கு இங்க வர முடிஞ்சது. வந்திருக்கேன். நாளைக்கு காத்தால கிளம்பணும். உங்களை பார்க்க முடியல நேர்லன்னு ரொம்ப தாபமா இருந்தது. அதுக்குள்ள இன்னைக்கு என்னுடைய பையன் ஆதித்யா. ரொம்ப சந்தோஷமா இருக்கு. ஆசீர்வாதம்.
நாமத்தை விட வேண்டாம்.
ராமராமா கண்டிப்பா. இப்போ இது முரளிதர சுவாமிஜி சென்னை, அவரு அதான் சொன்னார், ராமராமா ஒண்ணுதான் உனக்கு முடியும்பா, வேற எதுவும் வேண்டாம் அப்படின்னாரு. அதைத்தான் சொல்லிகிட்டே இருக்கேன். அப்பப்போ திருவண்ணாமலைக்கு போவேன். அங்க போனா மாதாஜியை பார்ப்பேன். பவாலும் இந்த ஆனந்தாஷ்டம் ரொம்ப சந்தோஷப்படுவான். நேர்ல பார்க்கணும்னு ஆசையா இருந்தது. ஆனா நெக்ஸ்ட் டைம் வரும்போது பாக்குறேன் கண்டிப்பா. பையன் எஸ்எஸ்எல்சி எழுதியிருக்கான். 11th எழுதி இப்ப எஸ்எஸ்எல்சி எழுதியிருக்கான். சிபிஎஸ்இ என்ன படிச்சு காமர்ஸ் எடுக்கணும்னு ஒரு ஆசை. ஆசீர்வாதம் பண்ணுங்க. நமஸ்காரம். ஃபேமிலியோட தான் வந்திருக்கேன். அவளை அப்புறமா இன்னொரு நாளைக்கு கூட்டிட்டு.
When we are talking about Nama, now he was explaining to us about how Nama lifted him. So here, Papa says, is it better to repeat it aloud or silently? Papa says, each way has its own benefit. Mental or silent repetition of the name is considered to be better than verbal repetition. When you mentally repeat, your mind is fixed in the name, whereas mere oral repetition does not effectively stop the wandering of the mind. But if your mind is harmonized with the sound of the name, oral repetition is better. Everyone has to try, There is no do's or don'ts. Each one has to try because each one is unique. And the guiding principle, the core of the being, that is also in everybody. So the guidance will come. Taste, temperament, inclination, aptitude, everything changes from person to person. That is also caused by him. When he has caused all the diversification, he has also provided us the freedom to choose. So the oral repetition as well as mental and silent repetition. Ramdas repeated the name aloud, and the sound used to arrest his mind, keep it fixed on God, bringing about union with him. But this is very important. So we have to now try whether oral chanting is okay for me, whether it has been able to arrest the outgoing tendencies of the mind, even when I do for Ram Nam for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, whether it is behaving well or my mental chanting or silent chanting. You know the difference between silent chanting and mental chanting. Silent chanting is sound will not come out, but lip and tongue will move. In mental chanting, sound will not come out, lip and tongue will also not move, but mentally chanting will be there. So whether we become one with it, that is. One with it means how to do that? Simultaneously we are trying to develop that it is he who is making me to chant. So he is with me, that remembrance should come to me. It is for that purpose he has given me this name, to remember him. Let us see what Papa says more about it. The oral repetition changed into mental repetition in his case, For the mind took up the refrain until at last it became still. The repeater, repetition, and the repeated became one. By directing our attention. Chanting is the mainstay of Anandashram. We have all been doing chanting. So how to get fixed about it? To a very great extent we have been able to move forward, but still, we still feel that we are still away from the goal to be scaled. That means the sense of individuality, the dominance of sense of individuality is still there, which is preventing me to feel that he is behind even these words. So Nama chanting is the process by which I try to become aware of this. So he has put it in a beautiful way, the repeater, the repetition, and the repeated. Repeater, the sense of individuality, repetition, the Nama, and the repeated, the outcome, become one. Am I reaching that stage? When I take up chanting, kindly think about it. In Papa's case, Ramdas repeated the name aloud, and the sound used to arrest his mind, keep it fixed on God, bringing about union with him. The oral repetition changed into mental repetition, for the mind took up the refrain until at last it became still. The repeater, the stillness is explained. The repeater, the repetition, and the repeated became one. Thereafter, the repetition ceased. Just as in a journey, when you reach the destination, there is no more need for you to walk further on. Ramdas can tell you in all truth and sincerity that there is no sadhana easier than the repetition of the name. It can take you to the highest spiritual eminence by giving you the all-comprehensive knowledge of God. Sri Ramakrishna had gone through various sadhanas for 12 years. Ultimately, whenever anybody went to him for spiritual advice, he would ask them to take only the name of God. This is the essence of all sadhanas. So today, Papa is for drawing our attention to this, how to improve our sadhana. How to improve our sadhana of chanting. We might be having a glimpse of it, but now he is putting it from his own experience. The repeater, the repetition, and the repeated become one. That means the Nama chanter, the Nama itself, and the process of chanting. The process of chanting, the Nama itself, and the individual entity doing the Nama, doing the chanting. They all fuse into one. A clear-cut direction. So this may not be possible for us throughout, but as was suggested a couple of days back, suppose we set apart 5 minutes or 10 minutes for intense Ramnam, and then try whether we are being led into this state, the stillness. It is not that we are actuating anything, whether we are led to that state, the outcome of our experience, outcome of our sadhana. When we feel that we should reach that stage, again we are nowhere near the truth. But suppose we start chanting and try to observe this, the outcome of the chanting will give us this experience. Kindly think about it again and again. We will read once more. Is it better to repeat it aloud or silently? Papa, each way has its own benefit. Mental or silent repetition of the name is considered to be better than verbal repetition. When you mentally repeat, your mind is fixed in the name, whereas mere oral repetition does not effectively stop the wandering mind. But if your mind is harmonized with the sound of the name, oral repetition is better. Ramdas repeated the name aloud, and the sound used to arrest his mind and keep it fixed on God, bringing about union with Him. So nothing is absolute, no? Everything is relative. Oral chanting also helps. Each one has to decide based upon what we get. We have to fine-tune, change our stand, change our method. It can be oral, it can be silent, it can be mental. And Papa says how he was able to enjoy both. Ramdas repeated the name aloud, and the sound used to arrest his mind, keep it fixed on God, bringing about union with Him. The oral repetition changed into mental repetition. For the mind took up the refrain until at last it became still. The mind took up. Oral repetition was going on, and the pattern was given to the mind, and the mind immediately took it up. So mental repetition started. It is a process. And then what happened? The mind took up the refrain until at last it became still. The repeater, the repetition, and the repeated. Repeater, the sense of individuality. Repetition, the process of chanting. And the repeated is the name. The subject, the object, and the process become one. A clear-cut direction, very clear-cut direction. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. The entity that is chanting, the process of chanting, and the now. When it becomes one, then it leads us to the stillness. That means the chanting, that is why in one of his quotations he said, utterance of God's name is to make the mind ultimately still, free from all thoughts. Why? Because it is the stillness that you know and realize God. So we will all try that, no? For 5 minutes or 10 minutes. We will try in our own way when we are alone, preferably alone. Papa did this not in a collective manner. he did this when he was alone. When we have taken it for 5 minutes or 10 minutes in the morning, when we are practically alone, and it is purely a 100% sincere sadhana, self-originated sadhana. A time and a place are there in ashram or any place. We have got in temple. Because for an institution, those things are necessary. There is a particular place where you do the chanting, a particular time you do the chanting. For flower offering, there is a timing. For there is an arati, there is a timing. For there is a prayer, there is a timing. Because an organization needs all these things. Otherwise, it will become not orderly. But let us not confuse it with our sadhana. That is because when I go to an ashram, when I go to an organization, I have to abide by the principle there. Now, when I am alone, when I do this sadhana, and if I get the technique of harmonizing with the objective, then even during the specified time or during the non-specified time, I am comfortable. So initially, when I go to ashram, when I attend the previously, there was no morning to evening session like what we have in Samadhi Mandir. So we used to all rush up by 11:30, whatever may be our program or work. Because 11:30 to 12:15 is the time for us to concentrate upon Ram Nam only. It precedes the Arati prayer, everything. Perfectly all right. That is how we are initiated into it. So as an institution, this timing of a specified period as well as the place, everything is there. It should be there. But for a sadhaka, we should also know that our sadhana is purely based on our individual age, temperament, and aptitude, self-originated. Kindly think about it. Self-originated. When we go to class schools, we hear the text from the teachers. He explains. But when we answer the question paper, which enables us to move from class 1 to class 2, because that is the evaluation. Examination is the evaluation. And then only they know whether we have assimilated, whether we have understood the theme. And that is why the questions are not known to us. When the questions are given to us, we unless I do some manana, reflection, and I have understood the theme, I will not be able to reproduce it. So to the extent I reproduce effectively, that means I have done enough contemplation or reflection. That enables me to move from class 1 to class 2, class 2 to 6, like that, from one place to another. The examination like that. Whether the specified time when I go there, whether it is helping me to absorb these things. Because during my examination time, neither the teacher nor the text helps me. It is my own absorption that helps me. So similarly, my spiritual progress is purely depending upon the extent to which I reflect, I absorb, I become one with it. Now we remember Papa's beautiful words, inspiring words. The more you become reflective, the more you move toward the source, springs of life. More you become reflective. So this chanting should enable us. Otherwise, how will it happen? The repeated. What are the three? The repeated, the repetition, and the repeated become one. The entity that repeats the process of chanting and the one chanted Nama. Nama and sadhaka and the process of chanting all become fused into one. And what is the outcome? Stillness. Very, very important for all of us. Many of us might have had some glimpse about it, but now it will give further light. The oral repetition changed into mental repetition, for the mind took up the refrain until at last it became still. Thereafter the repetition ceased, just as a journey. Then when you reach the destination, there is no more need for you to walk further on. Ramdas can tell you in all truth and sincerity that there is no sadhana easier than the repetition of the name. It can take you to the highest spiritual eminence by giving you the all-comprehensive knowledge of God. Then the question was asked, I find I can easily repeat something mentally and also think of something else at the same time. Papa answers, that is why we are told to repeat the name of God, putting into it all our soul and not with a divided mind. Whole soul. Repeating the name with a wandering mind shows that our love for God is not integral. Some people come to Ramdas and complain that they repeat the name by the lips, but their mind is wandering. Now, why can one not concentrate one's mind on God when one is chanting His name or when one sits for meditation? The reason is that one's love for the objects of the world is greater than one's love for God. Where one's love is, there one's mind is. If one has wholehearted love for God, one's mind will automatically go to Him, just as a miser's mind goes to his money. So repeat the name, putting into it all our soul, not with a divided mind. And then now coming to the practical side. Whenever we find part of the mind is chanting, part of the mind is going out, better stop. Give a break and start again. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Even if it is there for 3 times or 5 times or 10 times, we can see for ourselves whether these 3 become 1. The moment we feel the mind is going out, open our eyes, stop the train of thought there, which is going out, bring it back again. 2 or 3 again, we try. After 2 or 3 again, the mind goes out, again stop. Somewhere we have to devise this method. Individually, this cannot be done collectively. Because only I know whether the mind is going around, is getting concentrated or going. Nobody else will know. So how can they correct me? So for my individual sadhana, for my individual progress, I have to devise some method by which I watch the mind, whether what Papa says is happening or not. Repeating the name with a wandering mind shows that our love for God is not integral. We are told to repeat the name of God, putting into it all our soul, not with a divided mind. Repeated, the repeater, the repeated, the repeater, the repetition, and the repeated. That is what is called whole-souled, not with a divided mind. The point is very subjective, so kindly ponder over it deeply. Even if it's for one chanting, if we succeed, we can try with that for the second chanting and the third chanting. Suppose the fourth chanting it goes out, cut, again back. This can be done only when we are alone, when we individually do this. When the 45-minute session is going on, you cannot do that. So you go along with them. There may be some moments where the mind may stay with us. There may be some moments where the mind may also go out. Now we know. This satsang helps us to know that even when the mind goes out, it is because it is not whole-souled. This is not happening there. What is not happening? The union of the repeater, the repetition, and the repeated. Is it becoming clear?
Yes, Swamiji.
Yes, yes, yes.
Swamiji.
So 5 minutes, 2 minutes or 5 minutes or one time chanting, 2 times chanting. When we repeat the mala, one we will set apart for Mataji's quotation. Mataji's Namayajna for Vishwashanti. Okay. That is there, common pool. Okay, going on. There probably we may not be able to know that whether it is 100% with the mind or whether the divided mind is there. But now, side by, we will not stop that. Because we do get some joy. So that's set apart. Again, we will come back. We set apart 1 minute or 5 minutes or 10 minutes. We have a sankalpa that we will do one mala effectively, 100 times, one mala. So we will try now first 10 times. And during that 10 times, we will see whether this happens. We pray to him intensely. It is not because of our capacity that we can succeed. We are praying to him intensely. You have made us know how we should progress in our chanting. You gave us the chanting. You gave us a body-mind intellect. You gave us the taste of chanting, enjoying the chanting. And you also made us to know that even while chanting, the mind at times, it becomes divided because it is not exclusively on this theme. And now you have made us know that if I have to really enjoy the purpose for which I am chanting, then I should ensure that these three join together. The repeater, the repetition, and the repeated. It becomes one, leading to stillness. So with that, you make me, make a trial. Help me to fulfill this, please. So with that bhavana, that means subconsciously a prayer is also there. Because unless His grace comes, we will not be able to do it. All these things are made possible because He has given us the prompting to dwell upon it. That is what is called grace. So the sense of individuality is not asserting directly or indirectly that it can reach the goal by itself. No. So this merging of the repeater, the repetition, and the repeated can take place only by His grace. So that will be the base. That will be the base from which we start doing. Now you have provided me an opportunity. You have cleared many of my doubts. You have intellectually convinced me that this is what is to be aimed at. And you have provided the necessary ambience, facility for me to do that. Please ensure that the me and mind does not step in. And you naturally then, when it doesn't step in, I become aware of your presence in the form of stillness. Once again, we will read this particular portion. That is why we are told to repeat the name of God, putting into it all our soul and not with a divided mind. Repeating the name with a wandering mind shows that our love for God is not integral. Surely the aspirant's mind must think of God as intensely as a miser thinks of his money, if not more, if he loves something else in the world. So a sincere devotee prays, "O God, make me love thee above everything else." When we love him, our whole mind will be filled with him and there can be no other thought coming into it. Ramdas will give you an instance here of such a God love. You must have heard the story of the famous saint Mirabai. She was against her will married to a prince, but her heart was already given away to God before her marriage. When Meera was a child, a marriage procession was passing in the street. Meera and her mother was witnessing it. Jokingly, her mother asked Meera whom she was going to marry. She said she would marry Lord Krishna. From that time, Meera was feeling that she was actually married to Lord Krishna. And when the proposal came for her marriage with the prince, she said that she was already married to Krishna. Though she was forced to marry the prince, she could not love him. One day, her husband asked her whether she did not love him at all. She replied that her entire heart was given to Lord Krishna. There was no possibility of her loving another. So if one wants God, one's whole heart must be given to Him. The one sole objective of the devotee is to pray to Him, to take His name, and to dedicate his whole life to His service. The final also He gives us in a simple way. The one sole objective of the devotee is to pray to Him, to take His name, and to dedicate his whole life to His service. So today's Satsang, Papa is bringing out the methodology by which we can improve our quality of chanting. So these three things, what are the three things?
Chanting, chanter, chanted.
Chanter, chanting, chanter. Starts with the chanter, process is chanting. Chanted is the name. Good, that's a beautiful way. Instead of repeating, chanter, chanting, chanted. We will not stop with intellectual and understanding. All of us will try when we are alone. Whether this is taking place, the chanter, chanting, and the chanted. We will not have any other concept, We will just plunge into it. And experience for ourselves, what does it yield? What does it lead us to? Chanter, chanting, chanted. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. First of all, we become aware now these three things while we are chanting. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Chanter, chanting, chanted. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Also, we remember Papa's words. Oral chanting helps us to become one with Him. We all enjoy that, That is becoming one with Him. In a melodious tune, when it is chanted in a congregation, the one which we enjoy is something we cannot explain. But then we know, as soon as the chanting session is over, impact does not remain with us. So now we are trying that. Impact is the chanter, the chanted, and the chanting become one by glimpse. So then we slowly switch over to the mental chanting. That can be done only when we are alone. And then again watch this. three segments, three factors. The chanter, the chanting, the chanter. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Each one of us will try. And we are sure we will be led to that stillness. 100%. Wonderful technique. The merging of these three. So Papa has written, though he has not specifically written this, but he made us think now. From oral chanting, automatically the graduation took place for mental chanting. And the mental chanting finally landed him to the core of the being, the stillness. Stillness is not a negation of anything. It is full of dynamism, full of potentiality, full of energy, Which we know that because the awareness, it comes out in the form of consciousness or awareness. So let us not try more than that, but we try this method. This methodology, when we put ourselves on this process, the process will take us to the ultimate. Chanter, chanting, chanted. Utterance of God's name is to make the mind ultimately still, free from all thoughts. It is in the stillness that we know and realize God. Those who have this Inward Journey book with you, please open up. There is one in particular page, this starts with this utterance of God's name. Read it, and in the last you say, the Bhakta and Bhagavan become one. Everything becomes one. So he now keeps on reminding us that our sadhana should become totally individual based. That is why when we are in the ashram, we feel joyous. The moment we go back, we apparently get disconnected. Because the mind is preoccupied with so many other things. Here it is. So then we try to understand Mataji's words, that this is the ashram is a school. So when we go to this ashram, it is not merely to attend the programs there, to find a technique by which we get the password to enter. At home, probably we may not be able to do it because of priorities and preferences God has given us. So he now makes us to recede, stay for 1 or 2 or 3 days in the ashram, and then develop through the program, we develop individually how we can move on further. Because the ambience in ashram provides, we don't have to do anything individually there. I mean, not individually. We don't have to do anything for ourselves. Everything is taken care of by the ashram. Stay, food, everything, So our job is, we have given so many free time there. And even if the mind goes out, we attend only programs. And the program again reminds us of the goal to be achieved. So right from morning till evening when we are in the ashram, whenever the mind has got a tendency to hang on to the individual sense of individuality, immediately we can devise some method by which we connect ourselves to this. So every program then we find it is helping us. But this helping us to do what? To reach this stage of the merging of these three. The chanter or the doer, the chanting or doing, the chanted or the work or somewhat, it become one. When we develop this technique through chanting, this helps us in all our activities, not merely during the chanting time, during the non-chanting time also, because we develop a technique. The doer, the doing, and the done. The talker, the talk, and the talking. So chanter, chanting, chanted, when it becomes one, the technique, technique of combining these three, it stays with us. So during the non-chanting time also, it will help us. Preventing the assertion or dominance of a thought of I am doing. Along with that, God will guide us further. Let us not bother about all those things. God will guide us further. Just like these thoughts, He will guide us further. So our job is now to concentrate upon combining these three. The first stage, chanter, chanting, chanted. We will set apart 5 minutes or 10 minutes, set apart 10 or 15 or 20 or 100 times chanting, and try this. Whenever the mind refuses to go along with it, we will immediately stop and then again restart. Stop, restart. Stop, restart. A very powerful message today he has given. These were the words given out by him during his talks in Switzerland in 1954 when he sent on a tour. It has been brought out in Ramdas Speaks volume number 1. Repetition, silent and broken. We had no idea about all these things. The book was brought yesterday, and this particular book, prompting comes, and then when we open, he says, dwell upon this. So that means it is evident, that his guidance is with us, has been with us. He will take us further. Initially, he did not give us this because mind will not be habituated to take up the chanting. Now when he knew that all of us have been habituated and enjoying the chanting, we have faith in the word, in the name of God, we have faith in the words of Papa, we are enjoying everything, but it is limited to a particular time. Many of us feel that it does not percolate our thoughts, words and deeds. We feel disconnected with the core of our being, disconnected with what we are aiming at. So today he chose not a tall talk, not a high philosophy. What we are doing, he helps us to improve that. By praying to him to make us combine the chanting, the chanter, the chanting and the chanted. Let it be in that order. The chanter is there, the chanting is there, and the chanted is also there. At the moment, they are all three are independent, but by practice, it becomes one. That is the experience he has gained. And based upon that experience he is giving us, that gives us the, the authenticity that we are being properly guided. Not only that he had experienced it by that process, but he gave us, God prompted somebody to take it down, God prompted somebody to put it in the form of a book, and God prompted us now to go to that particular book and to read this particular message and to dwell upon it seriously. So the guidance, how it comes, it is now evident, very, very much evident. Let us all try our level best, pray to him to give us the needed push from our side. Hari Om. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Pranam.